Right. Good evening. Welcome to the October 17th Public Board of Education meeting for the Morristown Township Public Schools. This meeting has been properly noticed in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act as set forth in the agenda. To open the meeting, may I please get a moment of silence, particularly for those victims in Israel, as well as all innocent people in Israel and in Gaza that are suffering and are in harm's way. Can I please get a moment of silence? Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Heiser, could I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Arcaro Burns,
Present.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso, Dr. Myatt,
Here.
Mrs. Miller,
Here.
Mrs. Morano,
Here.
Ms. Romano, Mr. Weeks,
Present.
Mrs. McCopolis,
Here.
Mr. Villanueva.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heiser. And again, welcome everyone to our October meeting. We have a packed agenda, so I'll be very brief this evening. I did want to note the sad and unfortunate passing of one of our staff members. Colleen Heon was a staff member here in Morristown for, I believe, about 8 years, who unfortunately succumbed to her battle with breast cancer after a long battle. She worked as a teacher at Baker, Roberts, and UES, and we wanted to extend our condolences to her family. And we're thinking about her family, as well as all the staff that knew her. It's always obviously very sad to lose a member of our community, so we wanted to recognize her. With that, as I said, we have a packed agenda, and I wanted to thank you, Mr. Bollendorf, for your communication to the public last week concerning the security measures that we have in place in light of the troubling and concerning events happening worldwide. So I appreciated that, and I just wanted to turn it over to you so we can get our meeting going. I'll hit it afterwards.
Thank you, Mark. Just a couple of notes, and I will touch on Mark's comments as it relates to the letter that went out, just to give just a little bit more understanding for folks to perhaps create even a better ease of mind as we move forward in time. First of all, the school year aside, has been off to a great start. I think our kids are doing wonderful things. I've had the good fortune of being able to attend almost all of home and school meetings at the different buildings. I will eventually get to all of them and continue to attend them during the course of the year. I say it many times, but it doesn't really get old in my mind, is the gratefulness that I have. And I think that our community should have for those parents who do really go above and beyond to step up and help our kids in extraordinarily ways in each of our schools through home and school. Having said that, I also want to extend a debt of gratitude to the MEF, the Morristown Education Foundation, who recently held their annual golf outing. The amount of dollars that they raise that really trickles down to our kids through grants for our teachers and our classrooms, and also the money that they help our folks that are doing project graduation raise to provide that very important night for our kids after their graduation ceremony is incredibly important and much appreciated. So I didn't want to go without stating those things. And so then on to the things that were upmost in everyone's mind. Interestingly enough, as important as those things are, that they're upmost in our mind every single day, taking care of our kids, making sure that they're looked after, that their needs are being met, and that we're providing a safe and secure environment really has to be the hallmark of what we do, because in the absence of those things, real teaching and learning becomes a real challenge. If kids don't feel safe, if kids don't feel like they're a part of the culture that we're providing in our buildings, their ability to focus and really attain the kind of learning that we hope that they're going to attain becomes more challenging for them. So I think it's really important for us to focus our attention on these areas. And they should happen in ways that, quite frankly, our kids don't need to be terribly involved with or know about, but they're there and present for them to help protect them, help protect our schools, and help protect our staff. And so my letter on Friday, in light of the things that were happening around us in the world and communities around us, I wanted to give people a sense of peace of mind that, you know, we're very much engaged in that work, paying attention to the things that we're seeing on social media, paying attention to the things that we're seeing in communities going on around us. We have a very open dialogue, an ongoing dialogue, and strong working network with our local police force. Pat Riley, who's now your Director of Public Safety, has been really a tremendous asset to this community and has been very helpful in us strengthening what it is that we're able to provide for our kids in our schools. There's ongoing communication from the state level, from the Homeland Security, and I can tell you that if there's concerns, issues at front, we are provided that information always. And last week, in spite of those things that were happening around us, you know, we internalize fear for the things that we do see and other people are saying or hearing. And that's okay, because as I stated in my letter, if you hear something, if you see something, you should say something. You should never feel the part like, I don't know if I want to go forward with that or tell somebody. The worst thing that can happen is nothing. All right. And that's okay. So it's important for us collectively as a community to share information and concerns with one another. Never feel like you're bothering. Contact my office. I'm very responsive. You're going to hear back from me. And if there's something that we need to know, please share it. It really is our best defense against so much of what we may have to deal with in this world today, is our ability to communicate with what it is that we know is going on around us. So I just wanted to follow up and say those things. People can hear them. I think sometimes when you put things in writing, there's a part of communication that's missing. And that is the sincerity with which the words are coming to you and the belief that we have here in ourselves to be able to do the work that we need to do in order to do exactly that thing. And that is to keep our kids as safe as humanly possible. So I know that you join me in that effort. So to help move things along and to not keep our students here longer than they need to be, we'll come back to some of my superintendent's updates. But can we turn things over to our student leaders for their reports at this time? This is always my favorite part of the meeting anyway.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm Bhavika, the senior class liaison, and it's so great to be back here for another school year. It's my first board meeting, and I still remember my first board meeting. It was 2020, and we were all virtual. And I remember Mr. Airy had to screen share a picture of the flag for us to do the pledge. So I'm glad to be here in person, doing the pledge in person and here with you all. So I'm here to talk about a bunch of things, but first starting off, we are in the middle of our college application season. So it's a busy time for seniors. Since the beginning of the school year, we've been writing our Common App essays, supplementals for each school, asking our teachers for letters of recommendation, and busying our counselors with a lot of questions. So early application deadlines are usually October to November. The one that recently just passed was October 15th, and for most colleges, they are November 1st. Decisions for early application come out around mid to late December. And for regular decision, they're usually due around the first week of January, so January 1st to January 7th. So it's a great way to start off the new year. And decisions for that kind of trickle in around April and May. So during this college application season, please keep us seniors in your thoughts and pray that the trifecta of Navion's, College Board, and Common App websites don't shut down on November 1st from the sheer volume of students using them. So onto a happier subject, we are also right in the middle of Spirit Week. Our other liaisons will speak a bit more to that in a minute, but homecoming kicked off Spirit Week this Saturday, and pep rally will close off Spirit Week this Friday. The senior student body has chosen Roman Empire for our theme, and not to give away too much of our entrance to Spirit Week to our underclassmen, but it will involve fake fighting, fake swords, fake shields, lights, music, and all of the drama. So we're looking forward to that. Looking ahead into November, our Veterans Day Assembly will be November 14th, and we have started planning for it. Usually, veterans who have been alumni of Morristown High School or veterans who are relatives of students and staff at Morristown High School attend the assembly. We also usually have a keynote speaker, and my favorite part of the assembly, which I look forward to every year, is when us, the student council, has a chance to talk with the veterans and really get to know them, hear their story, and bond with them. So I'll be looking forward to that again this year. So that's all I have for this meeting. Again, keep us in your prayers this college application season, and I hope everyone has a happy Halloween and a great evening. Thank you. I'll now pass it off to Yvette, our junior class liaison.
Thank you, Bhavika.
Hi, everyone. Oh, that's low. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvette Wattal, and I am the junior class president. But today I'm filling in as your junior class Board of Education liaison. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about Spirit Week and our daily competitions that take place each day this week. Now, before I get started, some of you may find my face similar to a nervous freshman from a couple years ago. Well, that freshman was me. I had a great time doing this my freshman year. So when our liaison called in sick, I knew I had to take the chance to come back and talk to you guys one more time. Just like back then, our Spirit Week has stayed just as exciting throughout the years. And this year, we even came up with all new Spirit Day themes to try to get more people involved and feeling the spirit of MHS. We started our week yesterday with Country versus Country Club, where people could either dress up preppy for country club or Western for country. Today was Adam Sandler Day. So everyone dressed up in outfits that Adam Sandler typically wears, which include oversized t-shirts, baggy shorts, backwards hats, and sunglasses. So that was awesome to see. Tomorrow, we have Barbie versus Oppenheimer Day, where students will either dress up in pink or black. And Thursday features Salad Dressing Day, where each class dresses up as a different salad dressing. So seniors will be Caesar, as Bhavika mentioned, their theme is Roman. Juniors are Thousand Island, which just entails a tropical shirt. Sophomores will be French, which is, I guess, berets, and they could come in with baguettes if they want to. And freshmen are blue cheese, so blue. They got the short end of the stick there. And of course, Friday will be pep rally, so everyone will wear their class shirt and have a great afternoon and night full of fun and class spirit. Each day, we also have daily competitions that take place during lunch in order to get each class more points for pep rally. So today we had a competition where teams from each grade threw marshmallows into each other's mouths and tried to catch the most marshmallows possible. And we also had another competition where people sucked up M&Ms and straws and dropped them in cups. So overall, everyone at the high school is excited for a fun-filled week of activities and competition as we head towards another, hopefully amazing, pep rally. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Val.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Sophia Baram, and I am your sophomore class liaison. I would just like to say I'm super happy to be back and excited. I remember how excited I was this time last year with my first Board of Education meeting, and I am just as excited tonight. This Saturday night, this past one, MHS had our annual homecoming dance where the students will just celebrate Spirit Week in the school through a fun dance. And it was held in our MAC gym. On Saturday morning, student council got there bright and early to set up all the decorations and all the snacks and waters and refreshments. The dance itself was at night and had a good turnout from all the grades with over 700 people in total. There were refreshments, snacks, and a very popular photo booth with a very long line. And overall, and then student council stayed afterwards to take down all the decorations and clean up, which was very messy. And overall, the dance was a success with lots of people, lots of music, and lots of dancing. So it was super fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia.
And this is your freshman class liaison, Avant.
Hi, my name is Avani Dalal. I'm a freshman student council officer filling in for our liaisons. I would like to take a few moments to talk to you about everything going on with Spirit Week this week. Themes have been very fun for everyone to participate in, and many students have told me that they are excited for the upcoming days. Another major event happening throughout this week is our Penny Drive. The Penny Drive is a super fun way to have everyone come together to earn Spirit Week points while also raising money for a good cause. All of the money collected from the Penny Drive will be going to the newly established Adam Furlong Memorial Scholarship Fund to honor Miss Furlong's son who passed away this summer. Lastly, each grade is collecting a specific item for the Thanksgiving drive to earn points for Spirit Week. All of the food collected this week will benefit families in Morristown. The food will be put together to create Thanksgiving Day baskets. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ivani. It just puts a smile on your face, don't it? It's awesome. I'll turn things back to Mark.
Thanks, Joe. I neglected to put one of our routine matters up for a vote. May I please get a motion for the approval of the September 19th, 2023 executive session minutes and the September 19th, 2023 regular session minutes? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. And next, we'll continue your superintendent's update.
All right, we're going to go just a little out of order because the first one's brief and the second one's a little longer. So if we could have Sherry Carvano is going to come up and do our SSDS biannual district HIB report. Sherry.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sherry Caravano. I'm the principal here at WAMS, and I'm also the district's anti-bullying coordinator. We need to report twice a year on, we call it SSDS, the Student Safety Data System. This is a way for us to report a few key things to the state of New Jersey each year. There we go. We're required to report all alleged and confirmed HIBs, as well as any incidents of violence and vandalism, any type of suspension, any type of substance abuse, and also the trainings and programs that we have in our buildings to prevent harassment, intimidation, and bullying. This is a summary of the total incidents in each building. This report is from January 2023 to the end of last school year. You'll see me again in the spring to report on the fall of this school year. So we're always looking back to the previous 6 months. We have a total incidents. The incidents leading to removal are essentially any type of suspension that doesn't align to a HIB alleged or confirmed. What we really focus on throughout our buildings is anything preventative, things that we can build into the day-to-day operations of the school to help students show a caring atmosphere, demonstrate kindness, and really all of the things that it takes to prevent any type of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. This is just an example of some of the things that the elementary schools did in the second half of the year to promote kindness and empathy across their buildings. The Rock Your Socks was an event that all 3 schools held, and that's actually something that we're going to be doing this year at WAMS. Small group instruction for social emotional learning, counselor check-ins consistently. Some of these events, if you look up on the screen, are one-time events where it might have just aligned with a day. Others were consistent. So while the jump rope for the heart might have been an event, we also would have meetings and lunch bunch groups all year long. This doesn't like me tonight. Oh, and I went too far. There we go. Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to go back to UES. One more. Sorry, this doesn't want to listen.
Upper Elementary School had quite a few events going on in their building. Again, things like Random Acts of Kindness Week, you will see across the district. Field Day tends to happen in a lot of the buildings. And some of the consistent things you'll see also counselors, quarterly lessons, any type of SEL program. They did run Character Strong at the UES for the second year last year. And that is something that we brought to WAMS this year. At WAMS, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day by building in a week full of activities that we had in the cafeteria during student lunches. That was the first time we did that last year, and it's something that we're going to continue. We did have a guest speaker last year for IROC, Internet Safety Assembly. We are looking into a different program this year, but especially at the middle school level, we see the value in having students understand cyberbullying and the things that are taking place online. We do have a mentor program in our school that is held for staff and students where they connect. That is something that happens all year long. In addition, we have our Quaker Spotlight student recognition, which is a full year program, but it looks very different this year. So we'll talk about that in the spring. And at the high school, as you can see, other events that were one day, but other activities such as Pride Month activities, or even the teen mental health training that spanned significant chunks of time throughout the school year. These are really the things that we focus on as a building, rather than only addressing the incidents of harassment, intimidation, and bullying that have occurred. We really try to focus on the preventative measures that we can do to make our building a happier place for all students. We are also required to provide information on the district trainings and programs that we offer to staff. This is just an example of some of the trainings that we had embedded into our professional development day in March, in May, and also the swap day at the end of the school year for all staff to participate in. And the last thing I'm going to share with you, we are required every year to grade ourselves on how we are implementing the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. There is a rubric that we're provided. We actually have to present it before October 31st. So that is being presented tonight. Once I certify all of this information, the state of New Jersey will provide us with a score, which I am going to present to you in the spring once it's approved. So this is just an example of some of the scores that you see across the district. One thing to note, MHS saw a huge increase in their overall score just based on some of the elements of the rubric. And something I'll also note, at WAMS, we did see a little bit of a decline in our number. And because we were reflecting on all last year, we took last year as an opportunity to train on the Character Strong program with the intent of rolling it out this year. So some of the reasons, the rationale for a change in numbers year to year really is the programming that we're doing and just the changes within our building. But this is something that allows us to reflect on the entire year. And because it's done early enough in the school year, we can really plan things for the current year so that we're meeting the needs of this rubric next year. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. My battery died on my microphone. I appreciate it very much. And the work that you do, in addition to now being the new principal at WAMS, carrying on this very important work is much appreciated. So thank you for your report. At this time, it's my pleasure to turn the meeting over to our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Karen Benton, who will give her annual State of the District report.
Good evening. So I'm the longer presentation for the night. But I'm here tonight to share our State of the District presentation. I came to you last month and we shared the results of our New Jersey graduation proficiency assessment, as well as our access data for our multilingual learners. Tonight's presentation will share out our grades 3 through 9 state testing results, as well as give a broader update of our students' performance on not only our state assessments, but college entry assessments, as well as some highlights of our students' achievement over last year. Colleen, I'm not even going to try with this. I'm just going to ask you to turn. Just a quick introduction of our curriculum and instruction staff, our content area supervisors. in our different content areas. We have two new additions to our team this year. Mr. Joe McColgan is our new assistant principal of athletics at the high school, as well. He also served as our K-12 supervisor of physical education and health. And Mr. McColgan joined us this month, so we do welcome him aboard. Also, a new addition who has been here for a little bit, but I did not have a chance to introduce, was Mr. Francisco Santiago, who joined us last year in February as our grade 7 through 12 special education and K-12 multilingual learner supervisor. And you can access information about our curriculum at the website page listed below. So we've had a successful start to our teaching and learning year thus far, and our staff and administration welcome students back within our buildings and classroom communities through different activities, and we're now in full swing for our daily learning routines. Many of our students also extended their learning throughout the summer in different, participating in different summer programming, including our ESSA summer programming for Roberts, UES, WAMS, and the high school, our special education, ESY, and supplemental reading and math programs, as well as the summer multicultural arts program. And we have some pictures of our teaching and learning that occurred over the summer and last year as well. So we'll move first to our state testing, as well as some updates on our graduation assessment requirements. This fall, any senior who still needs to meet a graduation assessment requirement will have the opportunity to take the NJGPA as needed, as well as any candidates for early graduation. And then in the spring, this year, we are returning to our full plate of state assessments. The NJGPA will be given each year to our grade 11 students as part of their graduation requirement. One thing to note here, in the last 2 years, the NJGPA has been field test only. However, the class of 2024, our current seniors, it is now a graduation requirement that has not been waived. And students must sit for the initial NJGPA in order to qualify for the 2 alternative pathways, which I'll cover in our next slide. So this chart has the 3 different pathways that our students can meet their graduation assessment requirement. For the first pathway I mentioned is the NJGPA. One note there is that the passing score was lowered by the state from 750 to 725 in both ELA and math in order to be considered graduation ready. As I said, all students must sit for that assessment in their junior year in order to be eligible for the other 2 pathways. And the second pathway consists of a plethora of alternative assessments that are mostly college entrance exams. However, it is important to note that this year they have taken away some of the options, including the ASVAB, which is the military entrance exam, and the NJSLA 9 and 10 no longer count towards meeting the graduation requirement. The third pathway for students who have not met the first or second pathway is to complete the state portfolio appeal process, which is something that we walk our students through. For the fewer students that we have in that scenario, we walk them through that at the high school as part of our instruction programming. So we'll move on to our New Jersey student learning assessment data, starting with our ELA data. As I've noted in my previous presentations, the testing was suspended throughout the pandemic. And so we're now in our second year of testing post-pandemic. We looked at our last year's data as sort of a baseline to understand where our students were and the amount of learning interruption that they experienced throughout the 3 years of the pandemic. So this year, as we start to look at this, we've taken a very continuous and deliberate approach in how we are looking at our data, both our state data, but also the internal progress monitoring data that we've collected over the past 3 years. And we're using that to inform our instruction and make adjustments in terms of the interventions and supports that we provide to students. So in our youngest grade band, grades 3 through 5, you can see the percentage of our students who received a level 4 or a level 5 on the assessment, which is considered to be meeting or exceeding the grade level expectation. And we compare our Morristown performance to the average for the state. When looking at the state data, which is in black for 3rd through 5th graders in ELA, we see that these grades have shown the greatest drops in performance between the pre and post pandemic. So I believe that it is significant when we look at our district data at how many of our Morristown students are meeting and exceeding the grade level expectation in literacy. Similarly, in grades 6 to 9, a greater number of students are meeting expectations. But like I said, the grade 3 to 5, we see the most significant drop across the state. And then we can go to the next one. And then this is a little hard to see, but this slide is meant to show where we are compared to where we were just before the pandemic. So if you focus on the yellow bar graphs for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, the lightest yellow is the 2019 school year before the pandemic. And you can see where we performed in terms of our meeting and exceeding grade level expectations. The next year or next darker color yellow is 2022, and the darkest is this past spring in 2023. And so what we see is that in most grade levels this year, we see a steady performance or improvement over our 2022 data. And we see that in literacy, both for grades 3 to 5 and 6 to 9 as well. And the goal for us, obviously, is to return to our pre-pandemic levels in the next couple of years and beyond that performance. As I mentioned earlier, across districts in the state, we anticipated a decrease in performance and understanding that addressing the impacts to learning would not be a quick fix with immediate outcomes. However, these results and our other internal measures give us confidence that our support and intervention plans are working, as well as some initial confidence as we evaluate our new ELA programming for grades K to 5 into reading, that it is meeting our students' needs. And if you go to the next one, you'll see similar trends. This is grade 6 to 9 data. And again, we're comparing the 18-19 school year to the last 2 years of data post-pandemic. Now we'll look at our disaggregated group across our different student subgroups. Last year, we did see a significant disproportionate performance outcome for our Black and Latino students, as well as across all grade levels, as well as our economically disadvantaged students and special education populations coming out of the pandemic. While these disproportionalities persist, what you can see here is that every subgroup has demonstrated an increase in their performance over last year. So again, when we look at our interventions and supports, and we're using targeted instruction to look at the students that we've identified are most at risk and had the greatest impact and learning losses, this is promising data for us. And if you go to the next slide, this is across our racial groups, and then here is our economically disadvantaged, and then our students who have IEPs and 504s. So moving forward in ELA, what are we looking to do? We will continue with the supports and interventions that we have been providing with regular progress monitoring of students to ensure the supports are continue to work for students. Many of these supports are embedded within our new literacy programming and delivered through small group instruction and guided reading and writing support in the classroom so that every student has access to these supports. As I mentioned, we're also now in our second year of implementation in our ELA program for K to 5 and our first year of implementing the new ELA program in grades 6 to 8, which is called Into Literature from the same publishing resource. And we're beginning to revise our high school English curricula as well. We also use a number of diagnostic and progress monitoring assessments internally, including the MAP growth, and we're piloting a reading fluency and dyslexia screener that, again, will help us to better identify students earlier who are experiencing reading challenges. So now we'll take a look at our math data. Go to math. So same as what we saw in English language arts, this shows the percentage of our students who are meeting or exceeding the grade level expectation compared to the average for the state in mathematics. Overall, across the state, what we have seen is that the performance in math across all grade levels has seen a more significant impact than English language arts. And while we do outperform the state, we see the same trend with our students for math as compared to ELA performance. In math in grades 6 through 8, both here in Morristown and across the state, is where we've seen the most significant decreases in our on grade level performance. And so you can see, certainly while these numbers are lower than ELA, the gap between where we are and where the average for the state is there's a greater gap, meaning we have not experienced as great of a decrease here in Morristown. And again, that is largely, I believe, due to the intense effort that our staff and our supervisors have put into putting in intervention and support programming. We are in a pilot year for a new math curriculum for grades K to 8. So that's a total of 9 grade levels that we're looking at, and we're using a similar process to what we use to select, pilot, and implement our ELA programming across those same grade levels. The selection of the resources is we're looking to incorporate both the learning needs of our students, as well as looking to make sure that whatever program we choose provides strong instructional resources for our staff to use, so that we can both provide rigorous grade level instruction that addresses all of the 5 domains, math domains, as well as a program that will embed supports and intervention resources for our teachers to use during core math instruction, as well as during additional supplemental intervention programming that we deliver during our reading and math support and basic skills instructions across these grades. At the high school, we test still in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. And you can see here that performance is at or above where our pre-pandemic levels are. Again, another trend that we have noticed, not just here in Morristown, but across the state, is that our older students, the students who were middle school and older during the pandemic, and I see a lot of shaking heads, because oftentimes they're more independent learners and it was easier to deliver virtual and hybrid instruction to those students. Across the state, we have not seen the significant, decreases that we see in our younger grade levels. Similarly, what we did in ELA, we did look at our 3-year comparison and compared that to the state. And so similar trends that you can see is that in all or most grade levels, we are trending upward. However, you can see that while we see those overall improvements from last year, we're still targeting and making instructional adjustments at certain grade levels. You can go to the next one. Not shown here, but is important to note, and it is something that our supervisors and our teacher groups are looking at, is the cohort data. Cohort data would be, as an example, looking at students who were 3rd graders in 2022 who are now 4th graders in 2023. And then this year in 2024, looking to see how is that same group of students performing as we look across several grades. And again, as I said, we know that our approach to addressing the learning disruptions that we had was deliberate, and it wasn't something that was going to happen. So I think it very quickly. So it's very important, I believe, to look at how the same group of students are performing over several years. For instance, if we had a 4th grade student at the end of the 21-22 school year who was performing at a level 3, which is just under grade level expectation in, let's say, algebra thinking, we would want to look at that student's performance in 2023 in the same domain as well as look at the progress monitoring data that we collected along the way in order to support his growth toward a level 4 by the end of 5th grade. And this is, again, same trend that we're seeing. This is now our high school data, and you can see that we are actually performing above grade level in those, above our pre-pandemic rates in those subject areas. Go to the next one. Again, similar to ELA, when we look at our disaggregated data for math, we did identify over the last 2 years the same subgroups: our Black and Latino students, economically disadvantaged students, and special education students, as performing disproportionately lower than their peers. But we see the same promising growth that we saw in ELA for each of those subgroups. You can see that the darker yellow orange is above or at or above where we were last year. Go to the next one. And we see that for our economically disadvantaged and our special education students. So in math, as I said, we have a large math pilot that we are looking at for this year. At the elementary level, the pilot is focusing on building students' number sense and growing their ability to think flexibly about numbers. It includes STEM projects to help students see and use math in the real world. And we are also looking for programming that will include multiple opportunities in a lesson for students to engage with mathematical modeling and reasoning, which are the two practices that are incorporated in our standards, to help build deeper student understanding of the standards. We're also looking for additional resources in this math pilot that include both enrichment materials, reteaching and extra practice materials, as well as supports for multilingual learners. And at the middle grade levels, we're looking for a program that will help students to think more deeply about the standards through a focus on rigor and coherence. Students continue to have access to the STEM projects, as well as looking for those same kind of supports for intervention and support for different student groups. For our science results, almost done with the data. Just a quick highlight here. This past spring science fair was the largest number. We had the largest number of student entries into the fair over the largest numbers of categories in the fair's history. So you can see this brought a huge smile to our science supervisor, Gavin Quinn's face, and he's showing you a picture of the fair that we hold at UES. For science, we have a little less data. So we have the comparison to the state where we test in 5th, 8th grade, and 11th grade only. And in science, we do continue to move toward our 3-dimensional learning and assessments, and making sure that we are aligned to the way that students are going to be assessed, because that was the biggest change that we saw when we adopted the new science standards. In our elementary grades, one of the things that we've been focused on over the last couple of years is making meaningful integrations between science, ELA, and math lessons. For instance, when we think about modeling and reasoning, those practices appear in all 3 sets of standards. So finding opportunities to have, for instance, students reading an informational text about science, right? And then being able to write about that, or to write a claim evidence reasoning statement as part of a lab experiment shows the overlap between ELA, science, and math. And in grades 6 to 12, our science supervisor, along with the teachers, has been working to revise our curriculum at these levels to make sure that we are doing more inquiry-based learning, engaging students in natural phenomenon, things that they would experience in the real world. And for a small subset of our special education students, where it's determined that the NJSLA would not be an appropriate tool to measure their learning. We used an alternative assessment called dynamic learning maps. Only a very small subset of our students take this, and because of that, we typically do not meet the threshold to publicly report this data by grade or even grade band. So as you can see here, we've reported the combined performance of all of our test takers in grades 3 through 12, and the majority of our students who take this assessment are at emerging or approaching their targets. So some of our academic achievements this year, as we take a look at some of, this is mostly going to be our secondary data and specifically the high school. I think it is important to note that it really begins to reflect the culmination of learning that happens for our students that begins at kindergarten and ends at the senior year. So here are a few highlights. As you can see, we continue to have students who qualify for our National Merit Program, who qualify for our AP Scholar Program. We have students who are meeting the gold level standard in our world language national exams in French and Latin and Spanish, as well as we continue to have students who truly dedicate their time to community service and are achieving upwards of 250 plus hours, in some cases of community service hours over the course of their 4 years in high school. We also have students that each year are recognized at the state and the regional level across several different content areas and community participation events. So another thing that we look at in order to have an understanding of our students' college readiness is our college entry and placement assessment results. All of our students in their junior year and sophomore year take the PSAT. And as you can see, our performance on the full suite of exams for College Board, PSAT, SAT, as well as AP, continues to show that our students are performing at high levels, well above the national averages. The PSAT 10 and 11, as well as the SAT and the ACT, will continue to be acceptable alternative assessments to meet graduation requirements for this senior year class and beyond. And this is our sophomore data. You can go next. And then for the SAT, one important thing to note here is that beginning in the 2024 administration of the SAT, is it March? In March, that the SAT will move to a digital format. So if you have a child who has taken a paper test previously and will also take a digital test, the College Board has announced that they will not be able to super score, where they combine scores across math and the English, the reading and writing, because of the two different testing methods. And you can get more information about that through the high school counseling office. Next. Over the last 3 years, we have had more students who are opting to take the ACT, either that they're taking both the SAT and the ACT, or the ACT by itself as their college entry exam. The ACT does not offer comparison scores to state or national test takers, but we can note that our scores within the district have improved over the last several years in alignment with the increase in SAT scores that we're seeing. And next, we'll look at some of our AP performance, AP exam performance over the last 5 years. Over the last 5 years, we have seen an increase in the number of students taking AP coursework and sitting for the exam. The high school currently offers 27 AP course offerings, with students being able to take some courses beginning as early as the 10th grade. We saw an anticipated decrease in the number of students receiving a 3 or higher in exams in 2021 due to the pandemic-related learning interruptions, as well as several changes in the AP testing format. Over the last couple of years, the College Board started with the AP test in terms of moving to a digital platform. And so currently, we offer some of those tests as AP, and then some of our AP exams are still paper-based. Over the last 2 years, we have returned to percentages around 85% in terms of the number of students scoring a 3 or higher. And as the College Board continues its transition to digital platforms, both for the AP exams as well as their learning platform this year, our teachers are ensuring that the digital platforms and learning features are incorporated into the daily instruction in order to ensure our students are prepared to sit for the exam, both in terms of the test format as well as the rigor of the content. In recognition of the instructional work of our staff and our students' performance, the high school received a silver level designation from the AP School Honor Roll. This is significant because the AP Honor Roll changed and revamped its criteria for school selection. So the 3 categories that they have are college culture, college credit, and college optimization, with college culture being the most heavily weighted category. And so I'll take a second just to explain a little bit about each of those categories. For college culture, it is the percent of students in the graduating class who took an AP exam at any point in high school, regardless of the score. And to avoid pressure on students to take a large number of APs, only 1 AP exam per student contributes to this indicator. So it's really looking at access to AP scores, and how many students or what percentage of students within your building are engaging in these higher level rigorous courses that are suited to translate to college readiness. College credit was the second category, which is the percent of students in the graduating class who scored a 3 or better on any AP exam. And again, to avoid pressure on students to take large numbers of APs, only 1 AP exam score of 3 or higher per student contributes to this indicator. So this is not only, in my opinion, a measure of the student's performance, but it's also a good measure for us to look at the quality of our instruction across all of our AP programming. And as I said, our teachers worked this summer during summer curriculum to adjust their course curricula onto those digital learning platforms, as well as making the revisions that the College Board had made in order to ensure that we continue to deliver high quality instruction. The last one category is college optimization. You can switch to the next one. Which is the percent of students in the graduating class who took 5 or more AP exams in high school, where at least 1 exam was taken in 9th or 10th grade. So this is kind of a twofold one. What the College Board has shown is that taking more than 5 courses, 6 or 7 courses, actually the research has shown does not increase students' readiness for college, nor does it improve college graduation rate, so their matriculation. So part of the revamping of this was to be able to communicate to high schools and high school programming, AP programming, about where they're finding the value for the AP exams. And so our silver designation, if we were to go back to that, you don't have to go back to that slide. We received our highest score in college culture, which was also the most highest weighted score. We can head on to the next one. So this is some data looking at our 3-year trend for after high school or post-secondary outcomes. We look at 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, as well as apprenticeship programs, students that go directly into careers for certifications. We look at the military, as well as looking at students who may be undecided or unknown. And what we find is that the overwhelming majority of our students are going on to 2-year and 4-year colleges. But we take note of the note that I have at the bottom, which is that it's a deeply personal process for our students. One of the things that we saw immediately or during the pandemic is that many students were not choosing to go to away for a 4-year college because a lot of times they were virtual, there was college cost. And so our counselors work very closely with every student and every family to make the best decisions about what their post-secondary plans should be. And when we look at our college persistence, this is always a really hard slide to present because we have to steal it from the National Student Clearinghouse as a PDF. But so I always just like to say that what this represents is that about 95% of our students 2 years into their college careers are still persisting to matriculate through either a 2-year or a 4-year program. So our students are college ready and they are persisting in their college careers. Go ahead. And I won't go through these, but just a quick list of some of our college acceptances. The next one. I will post this entire presentation on our curriculum website so that you can see it. So a few highlights for our visual and media arts. You can see here that our students won several county awards. We did showcases through More Arts and our national art associations, as well as holiday and district art show, the Burlington County Film Fest, and the Center for the Arts of Southern New Jersey. These are some of the recognitions that our students received. Again, I won't read it to you, but just to highlight some of those. Keep going. For performing arts, you can see some of our bands and our plays and orchestra and vocal concerts, as well as our musical, and a few of our recognitions for music. Several of our students each year qualify for all regional and all state in both jazz, orchestra, and band, orchestra, and our jazz band, as well as chorus. Go to the next one. And both our fall play, A Christmas Carol for last year, and our spring musical, Cinderella, received numerous awards for their performances. In athletics, we had sectional championships for boys swimming, boys basketball, boys golf, and boys tennis. And our unified basketball team were state champions, I believe, for the second year. At least the second year. So to end our presentation for tonight, I would like to just say thank you. Thank you to our staff and our administration who worked tirelessly to provide the highest quality education and school experience for all of our students. While this presentation gives a high-level overview of that work, I have the pleasure to walk into, as Mr. Bollendorf said, all of our schools on a regular basis to witness the real magic that occurs in our classrooms and our schools. We also thank the Board of Education for their continued support of our teaching and learning initiatives, as well as a thank you to the parents and our community partners for partnering with our teachers and principals to support and meet the needs of our children. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Dr. Benton. That was a great presentation, and it condensed a tremendous amount of information for us in a very digestible way. So thank you. I mean, it highlights that there is so much to be proud of here in Morristown, and it's thanks to the efforts of our entire community, including you, the supervisors, Dr. Tate, Ms. Butler, the principals, the teachers, of course, the parents and families that support these students, and of course the students themselves that are putting the work in to make us proud. So thank you to everybody that was involved in the last couple of years since coming off the pandemic to make sure that our numbers are trending in the right direction. It's really great to see. So thank you. I don't have any questions for Dr. Benton, but wanted to open the floor if anybody else did. Okay. Well, thank you. You can take a breath. That was that was a lot. Okay, moving on to our board committee reports. We'll start with the ad hoc committee on housing development, which I run. The committee met a few weeks ago to discuss this sort of our continuing analysis of the new housing that is coming to Morristown and its impact on schools in terms of additional students. So this month, what we focused on were sort of some of the potential capital improvements that can be made in the district. And Mr. Heiser gave us a very thorough presentation on the work that's been done in the last few months at the administrative level and working with building principals in terms of looking at our facilities where there could be improvements made, both in terms of things that we have to either replace or repair because they are at or approaching end of life, as well as things that we would want to add if there is a referendum to expand our spaces. And so a lot of work has been done at the administrative level in evaluating and creating a list of items that we would want to potentially include in a capital referendum. The analysis is obviously continuing, it's ongoing, and the next step is to evaluate sort of the programmatic aspects of our school district and things that could be included in a capital referendum to make sure that we are addressing the programmatic needs of our students. And so that process is currently underway, that the administrative team and our building principals and staff and supervisors are all working on as well. And so once we have, our arms around sort of the potential capital improvements that could be made to buildings, as well as some of the potential programmatic changes that we may that may be on the horizon. I think at that point, the administration will float various options through the various board committees in terms of, options for a capital referendum, so that everybody is aware of the possibilities. I don't have a firm timeline on that, but that will be discussed going through all of our committees going forward. We also briefly talked about financing for such a project and various state assistance that we may be eligible for, as well as the way to potentially structure bond repayments in a way that would minimize the tax burden on Morristown taxpayers. But again, this is all very preliminary, and we don't have anything concrete to report on that front. So that is about it. It was a robust discussion on any number of issues. I'm happy to talk offline with anybody up here. So unless there's any other questions, we'll move on. All right, next is communications. Jill was unable to join us tonight, but I think someone else, Brooke, will give a report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. The Communications Committee met on October 4th. Myself, Mr. Villanueva, Melissa Burns, Joe Bellows Macaluso, Mr. Bollendorf, and Dr. Tate were in attendance. We spoke with Mr. Bollendorf and Dr. Tate about how the administration is prioritizing our strategic goal, which was to engage in more strategic communications and increased awareness about district initiatives and student achievements. Joining us was Karen Mead, who's our part-time stipended PR and communication resource. And we met with her and we were all in agreement with some of the recommendations we made. So one of the first recommendations was increase our social media presence. So those of you that are on the district Facebook page or Instagram, you should be seeing that moving along, improving the functionality of the district website. And we really want to identify some opportunities to celebrate student achievement. So those are going to be our main strategic goals moving forward right now with the Communications Committee and with Karen. And Mr. Villanueva and with our committee, we are kind of reviewing the district website and looking to make recommendations to kind of upgrade and update that. And our next committee meeting is going to be on November 15th. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, moving on to curriculum, Lauren.
Sure. We met October 5th. In attendance was Karen Joe, Jackie Brunel, Mick Brooke, Cheryl and myself. Informational, action to be taken was, the field trip information. Information was provided regarding the high school students attending the Anti-Defamation League's 17th Annual Youth Leadership Conference in Philadelphia. Also, we discussed for action CUSAC instruction and program update, which included all grade 4 through 8 technology and performing arts curriculum are completed as far as writing of that curriculum. And the media arts crosswalk for K through 12 visual and media arts courses needed to be updated to be in compliance with CUSAC. So that's underway too, to meet those requirements. We had an informational discussion on considering new pilot high school novels to be presented later half of this school year. Karen went over the rationale for new English novel selections, the need for meeting the needs of all learners and a more diverse novel selection. So the books plan to be piloted in the spring at the high school. There's still a little discussion and review of what grade levels and what book titles will be presented. So that'll come out at a later date after the committee reviews more recommendations next month. There was also discussion about the reconsideration of instructional resources and library materials. Again, that was informational. Based on policy 9130, the policy the board adopted, but there was a need based on that policy to develop a district procedure. And so that's what Karen and her team have been working to do, is really kind of finalize what that procedure looks like. So we reviewed the revised district procedure based on prior committee feedback, and also took a look at the classroom instructional material form and library media material forms that would be presented for parents or the community to use. Then we also had a discussion on the safety and inclusion of diverse student subgroups within the district. We were taking a look at how we have an international curriculum, intentional choices and special programming to address the needs of certain cohorts highlighted in our discussion, along with multicultural exposure events and the intention to enhance student leadership, within our school district. We looked at the different groups' needs as far as special education, Black, Latino, Asian, mixed, social and economically disadvantaged students, students identifying within the LGBTQ community. So taking a look at how our district was supporting their specific needs. And then we also had a very brief overview of the information that Karen presented in the very thorough presentation earlier, when we took a look at the test scores, and Karen went over more specifically some of the strategies that we are using to support the learners within the district. And then lastly, an overview of instructional support and interventions for the math and ELA, which was also presented there.
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions? Okay, finance and operations, Mick.
Sure, thank you. So we met October 3rd. In addition to my attendance, we had Mrs. McCopolis, Danielle Miller, and Claudia Morano, Joe Bollendorf, James Heiser, and Jeff Harry were also there. Our action items, we started off with reviewing the multitude of RFPs that we currently have out on the street. Our business administrator, Mr. Heiser, went through all of the applications that we've received, talked about which ones were complete, which ones were incomplete, and then gave an overview of what was included in each. We then talked about each category. Those categories included our cybersecurity audit, the professional services the district engages, including bond counsel, architect, auditor, solicitor, and then also our health broker of record. The committee, along with Mr. Heiser, decided that he would go through and give us rankings of all of the submissions and bring recommendations of the top 2 or 3 in each of the category back to the committee. Each other committee outside of finance and operations will also get an opportunity to hear about those top two recommendations so that the whole board is informed for when we move forward with those. So that was the primary action. That was the only action item. Discussion items. We went through several, thankfully, pretty quickly. Talked about the ROD grant approval, that the audit for 22-23 is beginning, and then also New Jersey CUSAC. At the time, we understood that the deadline was being moved up. So we were talking about moving the board meeting. Now the deadline has changed and we have more time. So November board meeting is back to where it was, but we're moving December. Moving December's up. So anyway, just squaring the circle there in terms of all the movement. So let's see, where did I leave off? That was New Jersey CUSAC. We talked about facility rentals and the committee confirmed the requested hours were provided. We had to table the discussion of Zero Eyes information and pricing a security solution for a future meeting. We ran out of time to get to that. And we spent the bulk of our remaining time talking about the potential referendum coming up. Looked at a timeline, got a better understanding for the committee of how that would roll out. We moved forward with that and then reviewed the goals of the referendum and talked about specific items there that were all listed in the agenda for that. And talked extensively about the current debt that the district has and how that debt is structured and looking at that strategically as we move forward, considering a referendum. So once the main items are all determined from that, we determined that there would probably be or likely be presentations to the other committees to hear similar information so that we're all on the same page as we consider moving forward. Then there was one walk-on item where Joe, Mr. Bollendorf discussed changing around the caseload, how caseloads are handled for students at Baker due to a medical leave. And that should be on our October agenda for approval. So that was the summary of our meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mick. Next is policy.
Yep. So actually, the policy committee met twice since our last board meeting. So we had September 21st and October 12th. The usual suspects were there. I won't name them all. So you'll see on tonight's agenda for first reading, we have 4 policies and 1 regulation that are up for consideration. The only new policy is technically the BOE website accessibility policy, which essentially all the school districts are required to bring their website up to ADA, beyond ADA standards, essentially. Jeff Airy has been very, very diligent in tearing through this draft policy and the statute requirements and making sure that we're able to accomplish the goals of that policy. So that's why it's on first reading today. The other policies are very procedural changes and procedural modifications to existing policies that are mandated by the state. We have a policy on here that is to abolish a policy. So that's policy 5460.02. It was a bridge year pilot program that was a result of COVID. It only impacted the graduating classes of 21 and 22. So the 3-year pilot is no longer necessary. So it's procedural to abolish it. Those are the action items for discussion on both days. We had Mr. Seibel from the high school come and make a presentation about some potential revisions to the substance abuse policy, which is policy number 5530. He presented potential changes and it's still a work in progress for our committee to consider before it comes to the board. And then we've had our ongoing discussion of the suite of policies that guide our community organizations, our booster clubs, and our parent organizations. And that continues to be something that's on our discussion items of every committee so far. Hopefully we'll have something to present in the coming months. That's it.
Thanks. Any questions for Claudine? All right. Next, any off-board committee reports?
Just quickly, Speak will be meeting on October 26th. And this time it'll be 9:30 and it'll be in the Star Center. If you're unable to make it to the meetings, it's still a great resource, resource of people in that organization. And if you go on their Facebook page, you will get so many links and comments from parents. It's very helpful. So if you can't make the meetings, I encourage you to check out their Facebook page.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. Anything else? All right. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Home and School. Nicole Dancy, the homeschool president, is here in the audience, but the Wizards game last Friday was just awesome. It was great. It was a really great community, family fun vibe. The kids loved it. Hopefully it was a great fundraiser for you. So thank you. I know a lot went into that. So thanks to everybody at Home and School and the staff that was involved as well. Everybody came together and put that on an awesome event. So thank you. Next is our first public comment section. This is the section for your opportunity to provide public comment on things that are listed in our agenda. The rules are set forth in the agenda. Please keep your comment to 3 minutes. Make sure it relates to something on the agenda. And this isn't necessarily a question and answer session, but we'll receive your comment with respect to items that we're voting on tonight. So may I please get a motion to open public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. If you want to make a comment, please take the microphone and state your name and address.
Hello, I am Celie Coleman. I'm at 215 East Main Street. I have a comment about the ad hoc committee for housing development / referendum. I want to first thank everyone who's involved in that because I know it's a big undertaking, a lot of moving parts, a lot of what ifs. So really thank you for putting time and energy into that. And I just was hoping that moving forward, we can have more specific information coming to the community. There's a lot of generalities that are being discussed. And I actually found Haddonfield's school district has created a separate website discussing their referendum. It's looks awesome. It has a lot of information, timelines, what's been done, what's still to do, ways to communicate if you have any questions. So I just ask that everyone involved might look at that or look at what other people are doing, so that there's one place that people can go to get the information instead of just like it being thrown at, from different people, different places.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, may I get a motion to close public comment? All in favor? Thank you. And I'll address that comment briefly. So I agree with you. For me, in my hope and interest in being transparent, perhaps to a flaw, I think I've been trying to get information about where we are in evaluating it. But we're not in a position to say exactly the direction that we're going. But I do think it's important that people know that we are studying it very closely. And when we have a concrete direction to go, I promise you, the information will be there. It will be accessible. But quite frankly, we haven't yet developed exactly what that plan is going to be. So we're just not at a spot where we could do it. And I take the blame. It's probably my fault for giving sort of bits of information without it being fully baked. And so I apologize, but that's just where we are in the process. But I can assure you that at the appropriate time, there will be, plenty of information about the direction that we're going to ask the community to go with us. Okay, so now we are on to reports to the board. Article 8 of our agenda. May I please get a motion for approval of items 1 through 3 in Article 8? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Noes or abstentions? Next, Article 9. May I please get a motion for the approval of items 1? I'm sorry. A1, okay, let's just do, should we split it? Okay. May I get an approval for the policies and procedures listed in Article A1 and 2, please? Second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Next, letter B. May I please get a motion for approvals of items B1 in Article 9, please?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. C in the agenda, which is finance and business. May I please get a motion for the approval of items 1 through 13? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. Did I miss something?
On the, just to clarify. On the educational program, you had originally stated that it was number 1, but I believe it was, the motion was for 1 through 3. Everybody.
Oh, okay. Let the record so reflect. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are now up to employee relations.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. May I please get a motion for the approval of items 1 through 14 as amended per our discussion in executive session, please? Any comments or questions? All in favor? No, it's roll call.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Fallis Macaluso, Dr. Myatt, Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Morano, Ms. Romano, Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next in the agenda is our suspensions. Article 11. Wait, do we need approval for suspensions? No, okay. All right, Article 11 is informational only. Does anybody have anything for old business? Okay, we do have one item for new business, and that is the settlement agreement that our counsel, Mr. Toscano, discussed with us in executive session. And because it's not written here. We good? Okay. Because it's not written here, I'll read the full resolution. So could I please get a motion to approve the following resolution, that it is hereby resolved by the Morristown Township Board of Education to adopt and approve the settlement agreement between student 5001253 and the Morristown Township Board of Education, distributed during executive session. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Noes or abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Next is our second public comment section. This is public comment on anything on or off the agenda. Same rules apply with the exception that your comment doesn't have to relate to items on the agenda. May I please get a motion to open public comment?
Second.
All in favor? All right, if you have a comment, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and state your comment for 3 minutes, please. Up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole Dancy, president of Morristown Home and School, 16 East Closed. Our most recent news events, we've had successful scholastic book fairs at all 3 lower elementary schools, an article in the Morristown Sun about home and school in the Harlem Wizards event, The Harlem Wizards event was a sold-out event thanks to the Home and School Trustee Board members, Wizard Committee, the many volunteers, as well as the families that attended. All helped to make it a successful event. Autumn Day, our booth was run by trustee board members. They provided the community with information about past, present, and future events, how to join Home and School, sold apparel, and sold home and school calendars. Upcoming events, Scholastic Book Fair at UES on Thursday, October 16th, evening hours 6 to 8 p.m. UES Parent Internet Safety Session in partnership with the district. Apparel sale is now going on. 1 week left for Miss Chocolate fundraiser. Meet the BOE Candidates Forum on Monday, October 23rd, 7 to 8:30 p.m. in the Williams Auditorium. Halloween parties in partnership with the elementary schools. We still have calendars for sale at Morristown Hardware or by contacting us at our information email. It's never too late to join Home and School. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better.
Good evening. My name is Susan Moore, and I teach special education at the high school. I'm here to commend the Baker staff for the following. First, the Baker Bears thoroughly enjoyed the Magic Reading Book Fair. A big thank you to all the wonderful home and school volunteers who worked tirelessly to decorate the library, plan evenings, shopping hours, and staff the fair. Baker reading muscles are growing because of their hard work. Baker School's music teacher, Kristen Durazine, received a grant from Moore's Arts to help expand her xylophone and metallophone collection. More students will now be given the chance to learn to improvise, create their own melodies, and accompany songs and chants. She would like to thank the Moore's Arts for accepting her grant application. And lastly, the Baker staff mourns the passing of a beloved former colleague, Colleen Hean. The Baker staff sends their deepest condolences to their beautiful family that she left behind. Colleen fought very hard on cancer for the past 5 years with bravery and a boundless grace. She will be missed by all who knew and loved her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Martin. I'm an occupational therapist at the UES, and I would like to thank the UES staff for organizing and facilitating their Week of Respect. The guidance counselors organized the week, and the staff helped to facilitate with the students. Each day had a different theme. One day was Superhero Day, and all the students designed their own capes. The students enjoyed being superheroes for the day. Well, every day they are too. But the capes were then sent to CHOP for the kids there with messages of hope and kindness on them. It was very touching. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claire McBride. I work at Roberts Elementary School, and we recently also hosted the book fair, and we had a football theme. And Home and School did a fabulous job tackling the books, and everybody had a great time. We cheered for the Philadelphia Eagles, and our Home and School volunteers created awesome fun games and crafts for the students. A lot of parents came out for our family night, and I think the families really enjoyed everything that Home and School provided that evening. So thank you.
Hi, sorry. I'm Ken Lynch and I teach at Williams. I'd like to commend the Williams staff for our Week of Respect. From October 2nd to October 6th, we recognize the Week of Respect, aligning with our commitment to fostering a respectful and inclusive school environment. Each day was marked by a different theme, underscoring the importance of respect. On Monday, we kicked off the week by wearing blue, a symbol of our collective commitment to preventing bullying. Tuesday, we wore sports gear to team up against bullying. Wednesday, we wore sweats because being respectful is no sweat. Thursday, we wore crazy hats to tip your hat off for respect. And Friday was blackout bullying, where we wore our WAMS gear. Additionally, our staff recognized students who demonstrated respect with respect tickets redeemable for prizes. And finally, students were presented with daily challenges. For example, students were prompted to reflect on the essential value of teamwork and express their appreciation for the dedicated team players in their lives. Thank you to both our guidance department for organizing our week of respect and to all the students who demonstrated their commitment to fostering respect in our school community. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Warren and I teach at the high school, and I would like to thank the high school staff that made the administration of the PSATs a success in the face of multiple issues presented that day, mostly by the College Board and their technology issues. Staff monitored the 9th, 10th, and 11th grades so that they had the experience with the SAT test and the process. It was the first year that it was in a digital format, and all staff were helpful and patient. A big thank you to the IT staff that worked in the high school preparing for the test and then addressing the needs of the staff and the students. We would also like to recognize the Madrigals, led by Ms. Johnson, who performed the national anthem at the Temple University football game and at the Wizards game on Friday night. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Liz Matarese. I'm a speech language pathologist at South Valley, and I want to share an exciting project that our South Valley second graders did. So second grade at South Valley had students create Super Citizens Awards. I have one to show as a culminating activity for their integrated social studies and reading unit on citizenship. Awards were created and delivered to teachers, classmates, bus drivers, crossing guards, and the school resource officer. Second graders felt proud to spread kindness while being good citizens. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rashida Khalifa, 99 East 2nd Street. This is just about what we discussed and what was on the agenda. The first thing that I have suggestions. So the first suggestion for the communication department in regards to diversity and inclusion, you did mention that you were working on doing different events for Black History Month and making sure that the kids that are the minority in this community have a place to go and extra support. My suggestion is that we could probably have more assemblies. Pre-COVID, we used to have assemblies at the lower elementary schools, and we haven't been doing them as much since COVID. So I think that that's something that we can consider in regards to Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, and the Asian American population. The next thing that I was concerned about was the bullying, which I was listening to it on my way here. And I saw that the UES had 35 incidents, 25 of which kids were expelled. So I am concerned about that. And I want to make sure that Care Solace is support and that it's pushed. I haven't really seen much of Care Solace information in regards to mental health support between the transition from South Valley to the upper elementary schools. So I'm really concerned about that. I want to thank, I think it's Dr. Bennett for the statistics that she provided for the township overall in regards to pre-COVID and post-COVID and the strides that we made to make sure that the kids are on level. And I just want to make sure as well that the minority population in Morristown have access to the guidance counselors and are well-informed prior to going to the high school about their academic curriculum. And that's pretty much it for today. Thanks.
I thank you for your comments. I just want to just clarify one thing. I know you were listening on the radio. No students were expelled. Expulsion is something that really doesn't occur. Expulsion means denial of educational services, and that's not really something that we can or do. So I'm not exactly sure what it is you heard or what the number you quoted, but I'm happy to discuss it with you or put you in touch with Mrs. Caravano so you could actually see the numbers and what they actually really mean. But I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Lisa Trapani, Morristown High School. I just want to reiterate my concerns about the referendum or the planning of it. And just reiterate that, as I've said before, we're willing to serve on any committee, to do any research, to be a part of, any plan that moves forward. And also, we didn't really talk about the student impact, which for those of us, myself included, lived through the building of Morristown Hunt when we really were not prepared in this district to accept those students. So for those of you who don't remember, the 6th grade at WAMS was placed at the high school for an entire year in a wing that we had, which, trickled over into a lot of other issues. So I just want to make sure any part of that planning includes actual demographic studies that are accurate, because one that was done way back when we were planning the UES was not, because the UES was filled immediately. There was no, all those classes are filled. So I think along with all the research that's going on, and I'm sure you're doing it, on planning, that we include the impact to the classroom and the staffing and the students and all the services that are going to, be affected by this, not just, what else, the referendum money and all that. And I do think that if this does come to fruition, I think having a website is a good idea for communication purposes. But again, we're willing to serve on the committee. I think the impact instructionally, I know what happened before when we had high school teachers on carts going room to room. The middle school was in the same situation. Obviously, they couldn't even fit 3 grades in this building. That's how bad it got. That's when we banned backpacks, for the record. It wasn't any other reason. It was because there was no room anywhere to have them. So I think that's a big factor in this whole process. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Sorry. Celie Coleman, 215 East Main Street. I know it's on, hopefully on most people's minds, but I just would be upset if I didn't say something about the superintendent search. We do need to have a superintendent of schools. And I think months are passing quickly. Just an update of whether like a search firm has been identified, if we're moving forward with any of those things, just for peace of mind for parents and community members.
Thanks. Any other comments? Motion to close public comment? All in favor? Anything for the good of the order?
Okay, I have something. I know it's Phillies game, so I'm going to be as quick as I can, but I would be remiss if I did not say what I wanted to say since it's applicable to this month. So October is National Bullying Prevention Month. It's a very important topic to me. I think it is important to many of us. I hope it's important to all of us. Studies have repeatedly shown that bullying is detrimental to everyone involved, even those who simply witness it. And the negative impacts often follow those involved into adulthood. There was a really informative article in The Sun last week that cited statistics specifically related to a 2019 report by the National Bullying Prevention Center. And one of the statistics was that 1 in 5 students reported being bullied. And I believe that that number is actually higher. We all know cyberbullying has been on the rise for some time, and it's especially difficult to manage with so many opportunities for our children to be plugged into one electronic device or another. Related to that, Nicole mentioned the parent internet safety event sponsored by Home and School in the UES cafeteria at 6:30. That's a great place, I think, for us as parents to start to try to manage this. The thing that got me about the article in The Sun is that it posed the question of what schools and parents can do to help prevent bullying. And according to the American Psychological Association, reporting acts of bullying is paramount to combating it. It seems obvious, right? But it really doesn't happen nearly as often as it should. Teachers and staff in our schools play such an important role in this. in that they're often the first line of defense for our students who are being bullied, and their intervention when they witness such acts can be a genuine life-changing event for those students that are involved. There are useful laws in place, specifically HIB. Useful. And I mean, they are useful, but they're complicated and difficult to manage. They try to help the schools navigate this world of bullying, but I do worry as a parent and as a board member that any school district, ours included, can become so focused on the HIBs that's possible to forget the obligation and the need to thoughtfully consider the impact of the bullying that's going on that does not amount to a HIB. In the spirit of National Bullying Prevention Month, I do want to thank our administrators, teachers, staff, students who strive really to create an inclusive and welcoming environment in our schools. And I would like to encourage our district, our entire community, to do everything we can to prevent bullying, to report it, to intervene when we see it, and to appropriately handle the aftermath when it does occur. Bullying has lifelong ramifications, and if we collectively work together to combat it, I think the generations that come after us will be better off for it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for the good of the order? Okay, I know everybody wants to jump, but I did want to respond to the last two comments in reverse chronological order. So Ms. Coleman, thank you for prompting me on the status of the superintendent search. The board before this meeting had a 2-hour meeting largely dedicated to discussing that. And I think we did come to a consensus on a path forward in terms of utilizing a company to help us with the search. We haven't yet signed an agreement with that company yet, so I'm a little hesitant to disclose it, but it's not the search firm that we used previously. And so I would like to give a concrete timeline, but I think we need to talk to this company that's going to help us first before I can actually lay that out. My goal, and I think the board's goal, is to get us set up where we're receiving applications in the near term and positioned in January and at the latest early February to start interviewing. And I think that timeline makes sense because the board for the 2024 calendar year will be in place, and we know that there's going to be at least one new member. So that's roughly the timeline. Again, unfortunately, Joe, his contract is up at the end of this academic year. So we are keenly aware of that and moving forward with it. So thank you. And then Mr. Pani, thank you for offering to assist, and we will certainly take you up on that. I can say, this has been a very, very deliberate and very thoughtful analysis, primarily by administration, and getting us the information that we need and giving us options as we move forward. But I hear you, and the things and the wealth of knowledge that you bring concerning things that happened in the past, particularly when the district moved in the direction of setting up UES. So thank you very much. Anything else? With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wow.
Go Phillies, all in favor.